Hi, everyone. This is the CICD UX meeting 2024, January 17. Let's see. We start from the top. I actually have to move my point to the bottom because that's a question for here. And I think, yeah, we start with Gina. Go ahead, Gina. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few updates. One is that I'm almost done with the competitive evaluation for fleet visibility, and I did link the issue which has the FigJam file in it. It is actually very eye-opening to see what the other products are doing. I won't mention their names, but if you're interested, take a look or just wait for me to post the summary. It's probably going to be faster if you just wait. And then a couple other things that are coming up, I wanted to get some eyes on to see if anyone has worked on something similar. One of them is that for the fleet dashboard, we're going to be adding a filter to filter by tags, and it's going to be a global filter for the dashboard. So it will filter all panels in that dashboard. If anybody has worked on something similar, I would appreciate your feedback on the placement of the filter there and if it's clear. And then the other issue is a CSV export for time period. So we have in the fleet dashboard, one of the panels allows you to export the usage information as a CSV report. And then from there, people usually take that and like create internal dashboards or filter using whatever other tool that they're Excel or something like that. And now we want to allow them to choose the time period rather than it just by default being previous month. So I'm going to be working on that in this coming milestone. And that's more of just sharing for awareness. Yep. If there's
Gina,
go ahead.
No, I was going to talk about the filter one, the filter placement. I'm trying to find the information in my brain, but I think when we worked on an environments dashboard environments dashboard. I think so. Wait, it's just too many features. There is. I think it's better if I just write down because I need to find information in my brain. But I do have some feedback about this and also just some solution validation that was done before. My question here is, you have the filter, that drop-down component.
Yeah.
Do you think in the future you're going to have more, elements there in the UI that the user can interact with?
If we do, it would only be one more, and it would be this time. You could filter by some type of time period. Those would be the only two that would be able to impact every single data point on the dashboard.
And then have you experimented with that filter bar, right? The search bar where you have like the tokens, the chips, like what we have in merge request, the issues view. And if so, why was the drop down the option that you? Sorry, everybody. It's like dinner time. I've been sitting in front of the computer for too many hours. I'm like, I have no idea what words I need to find out. But anyways, why this instead of the filter bar?
Yeah, so we use the filter bar on the runners list view, like the typical view that you come into if you go to the runners page. And we received feedback that the experience of filtering there isn't ideal because with tags, specifically with tags, every single time you go into that bar, you have to add another tag. And you have to say filter by tag, add the tag, and then say filter by tag, add the tag. And there's typically a lot of there's pretty common sets of tags. So by allowing them to see that in a drop down, I don't know if I added a search bar in the menu. Yeah, so you could search for that tag and kind of like stay in one place and do it all at once. And then we just found, we've also heard that it's not as discoverable when it's in the filter component because you don't know what filters are available to you. So I haven't really edited what that page is going to look like in the future, but at some point we will improve the filtering for that list view. I don't know when it will be.
Yeah, got it. Thanks for the insights. Yeah, I agree. It makes sense. Like you don't know what you can filter by, right? With that filter, the search bar.
Yeah.
How about you also like show fields like below this, mentioning all the tags that are selected because it's not a crowded space. You have space. Yeah, because I mean, this is the only thing that it's being filtered by, and users not being able to see all the tags which are selected. I would say that is problematic to click on the dropdown and then get an idea about what this filter is all about.
True, that's a great point. I initially wasn't planning on showing them all, but I think I could play around with just showing like the chips,
Yeah.
like the actual labels underneath.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition, as Vitika mentioned. And then I also have just really, really minor feedback. I like that you're starting to play around with the drop down because I also could hear from you that the concern of using the current filtering bar patterns throughout GitLab. And then I know that we have a little bit of minor usability issue on that. So I could totally get it. But I think my problem when I saw the design was like, because I didn't think that the drop down is connected to the whole page. So maybe you could consider, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, maybe adding a small borderline below the drop down so make more visual hierarchy there would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I've also noticed a lot of other filter, like when you use the filter component, there's a gray background
Yes.
behind. I could try that out too.
Yeah, maybe that'll help, I guess. But I need to see, but you can definitely play around with it.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the feedback.
And then the one minor thing I wanted to say is I'd be curious if people would clue into that being a filter more if it was on the right side over the left. Because I feel like filter and sorting placements in GitLab always seem to be on the right, and I'm wondering if that would make it more clear or not.
Okay, I'll try that too. I wasn't planning on putting this through solution validation, but now that we're talking about all the feedback, I'm wondering if maybe I should just do a quick unmoderated test. I don't know. Like, I don't really know if I want to do that.
Yeah, I think oh, sorry, go ahead, Vitika.
I'm just saying if you have something coming up, like any research that you have coming up, you can just like plug this question in.
Yeah.
Because you implementing the very first version will not be problematic, but later for making improvement, plug this question into any research that is already scheduled. You don't have to like do something like dedicated to this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. Right. Okay, well, thanks for all the feedback on the spot. I appreciate it. I will give it to Emily now.
So I only have one announcement since I spent last week watching all the unmoderated interviews, but we've closed off the Kubernetes dashboard views with our improved tree view that we were testing. We found out that users really liked it. They were able to troubleshoot, especially like the pod area, a lot better than they were before using the single stats. So it's a great addition to the cluster UI. And the next steps are actually to work on moving this UI under the environment details page because we tested this on the environment list page, but we know we're running out of kind of space. That page has a lot of problems with things loading, and adding a big tree on that page is definitely not something we want to do. So we want to test out moving this over. and then also crafting up a more complex version of the tree just to see how it scales. But overall, went really well. And I wanted to give a big thanks to Will, who recommended this unmoderated test. We were able to complete the study over a holiday period, which I know is usually a slow period for user testing. And we weren't initially expecting to close this off in 16.8, but we did. So thanks again, Will, for the recommendation for this.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. And I did want to add here that, you know, I think this overall process was really valuable to go through because, as I wrote in the doc, we were originally planning to develop a whole nother page. So we were going to have to like go through foundations, team to try to get approval. I think Sunjun is probably really familiar with this process based on everything that happened last year. But through like Emily's design process and like collaboration with the PM Victor, we ended up deciding like, let's just keep it on the environments page instead of like having another page that we, you know, have to like surface to users. So overall, great work.
If no one has any questions about this, I can pass it over to Vitika.
Thanks, Emily. I was looking for the link to your design, but I got lost in the solution validation issue.
Let me post link to the Figma actually, because there's a tiny Figma links lost in the issue, but I think it'll probably be easier if I just link directly to
Got
the.
it. I mean, without looking at the design, I would just share why I was looking for it because you mentioned a good point, like overloading a page is definitely not a good idea, but I was looking to understand if there is a possibility to provide a toggle between two views.
Yeah, that's actually what we're looking to do in the details page. Like
Okay.
a toggle between two views or two views you can access. The problem with the list page right now is it has already so much information that I think adding more information into it,
Yeah,
even
makes
if
sense.
it's a tab, will overload the page.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I just saw the tree view design also, and I think it looks really, it reminds me a little bit of the pipeline view, like the, I don't know what we call that tree.
Graph.
It looks also like a
Pipeline
tree.
graph.
Yeah, the graph, I guess. I think it just looks very GitLab.
Yeah.
I thought you did a
That
really good job.
was my first reaction, that this looks like a graph from GitLab.
Yeah.
I used inspiration from that pipeline jobs graph actually, because that's the only one in GitLab I knew that kind of related. So I was like, I'm gonna just use that as inspiration and see if I can work this tree into that design. So there's still a few small UX issues, like I think we have to clarify the arrows a bit more. But yeah, overall, starting from there, I think was a really good starting point. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Coming to my point, so Mira and we were able to make big changes to the variables management experience. I know that we are still calling it beautifying of our UI, but we ended up like also doing some backend work that was long pending, which was around adding descriptions for variables so that it's easier for someone to, find a variable that they're looking for, because there might be one with similar, like a bunch of variables with kind of similar names that sometimes users create, and it's very difficult to understand just through a glimpse that which one was meant for what and why they were created. So now that's going to be easier, but that's just one. And we have made improvements with validations, added a lot of them. We have improved almost like a bunch of help texts and changed the behavior of the input boxes, made the drawer more pajamas compatible, and also like contributed to the guidelines for drawers in pajamas as a part of this. Overall, this was, I think, a very successful one, and we enjoyed a lot. So expect a blog from both of us coming soon. The next one that I'm looking at right now is merge train research. I know that I've been talking about it since a very long time, but it was really difficult to get people to speak with. But I'm just very happy that finally we do have people, and this is for the first time in, I would say ever, that we have so many people who are willing to share their feedback about merge trains. I'll be concluding this research this week and posting the analysis next week, or like mid of next week. And I have a lot of insights that are valid for many different teams, so just stay tuned. And that's all.
Nice. I can take over and then just voice Bonnie's notes here, because she's not attending. I think most of you have seen that she shared the job token designs, right, in the CI/CD UX. And oh, sorry, this is the configure job token at the group level. Yes, that's exactly the one. So if you haven't had a chance to provide her feedback, please leave a comment, review the designs. I was just dropping a couple of comments here. I'm actually impressed that that she managed to use the design patterns and the UI. It's really polished. I think there are a couple of things that we can provide feedback on, especially on there's already discussion on wording and then smaller interactions. But overall, it's really nice to see her first prototypes, her first design issue out there in the wild. So good job, Bunny. And also thanks, Vitika, for supporting her as her onboarding buddy.
She made it
go
easy
ahead.
though. I mean, the way she explored all the different use cases for this feature and went into the real depth, something that we missed the very first time when this feature was being built on at project level, and we kind of built upon it over time. But looking at how she made all those considerations before her very first draft, it was really commendable. So yeah, I appreciate her work on this.
Yeah, really cool. I'm going to leave a comment here in the document, but also in the issue for her. I think a good next step is to move that acceptance criteria and the comments that she's leaving in the designs area to the issue description, because about the behavior, about the rules, anyways, just the overall functionality, it's good to have that in the issue description. But if you haven't had a chance yet to review it, please support Bonnie. And then she also posted some questions and scenarios about the CI job token work. I think this is the validation issue. Yes, this is the solution validation issue. I think you had a chance already, right, Vi, to work with her on this one?
Right.
Yeah, do you know specifically what questions she still has open now?
I think Marcel and we answered most of the questions, almost all. In fact, I invited Marcel because I did not want this to be heavy on my perspective. I just wanted someone to challenge what I had written. And yeah, I think she has all the answers. But still, if somebody feels differently, I would really welcome you to post your answers here.
Awesome. And Bonnie, let us know, because she'll probably watch this later on. And then there's two additional points here. She's also mentioning the next steps for that CI job token is to create a validation plan and start conducting the validation. So she can refer to Emily's work for dashboard on this one. So Emily, do you want me to voice a comment? You want to voice a comment? I never know what to do. Yes.
It was just if Bonnie needed any context or feedback around the solution validation that I just did, feel free to reach out and I can chat about it a little bit more.
And I just have an FYI, no, not really. It's just a comment to tell her that she should create the recruitment issue soon because it's not easy, and get in touch with Erica.
Awesome.
Is it Erica or Will supporting the pipeline security team? It's Erica, right?
It's Erica. Yeah, Erica is verified. Oh yes, and she also worked on the scorecard. I'm sure if everyone had a chance to see that. And if customer has picked up one of the suggestions, one of the recommendation that she documented, and there's already a merge request. So also good to see, right, that momentum and the engagement also from customers, from the community on the work that she's doing. So I think overall, Bonnie has been busy. She hasn't had a chance to join these calls, but it's nice that she's also able to update us here about her work. So and then if you don't have any questions, I'll pass it over to Sunju.
Thanks, Hayana. So I have 2 items. So the first one is about the ThinkPic session that we did last week. So it was really great. We didn't chat about any design relevant element because it was intended to just become a more of a technical discussion. It was full of discussion around how to use API, should we change the architecture? But I think it was great that I could hear a lot of from backend engineering perspective as well around this project. So, okay. So it was really cool. And we wanted to make sure that we're aligned on this in terms of the project planning perspective. So we're working on the proposal from the backend architecture, like planning. So Fabio is working on it, and then we're also discussing shortly after the call, and then we'll keep discussing around this. So the long story short, what we are discussing at the moment is like how would the CI/CD catalog would like to become? Is it like GitLab catalog that includes a lot of different elements inside one catalog, or do we want to stick to become a GitLab CI/CD catalog that includes CI/CD components with CI/CD steps, CI/CD template type of component? So it's more of a discussion for the future vision, and I'm happy that like we're discussing this so that we can make a proper design and product planning so that we can we're working toward the roadmap and make sure we're aligned on the same goal. So it went pretty well in my opinion, and based on this, so it's only the empty issue so far, but Dove and I started to think about like we should validate if this vision really makes sense or not. So today I just really quickly create an issue so the research issue itself is empty for now, but I would probably need some of your feedback because we wanted to take this opportunity to test things out that is not exist in the market, as well as it's not part of the product, but we wanted to make sure if it is really aligning with the user's needs or not. So it's that. And my second item is also more of an FYI that I also went through the solution validation. It was during the holiday season and it was a moderated test, so it went fairly like well. And the good thing is, so we wanted to test out the different visual by representing the component. So currently, if you check the CI/CD catalog, it shows one project in a row, but we are asking ourselves, like, is it better to show the component inside the project? So it seems like it was well received, but I plugged in one unrelated question to this research that how would you filter and find the components that are created by your colleagues to test out the filtering experience? And actually we got a lot of constructive feedback on this. So we need more immediate action items. So yeah, it was a good test. And thanks, Erica, if you're listening to this call, for helping out planning the research issue. So yeah, if you're interested in, let me know if you have better idea on how we are going to improve the filtering experience. I think it would be a whole topic that I may want to share in the CI/CD UX review meeting at some point. Any questions, feedback? If not, I'll hand it over to Diana.
Sanjay, I do have a question. You mentioned that you would want some help, like some feedback, but where do we go to provide that?
I don't have a really well described issue, but
Okay.
I had created one empty issue, so I'm going to link it here. Where is the tab? Sorry. Too many meetings today, so. Thanks, Will.
Okay.
So this is the issue that I'm going to work on in the next 1 or 3 milestones, and I want to really revamp the whole filtering experience. For example, one question, do we need a tab here? And the second question, like how does this filtering tab with the search will working well together? And I'm pretty much concerned about using this pattern, so I'm happy to explore alternative UI for this. Thanks for asking. So moving over to Hayana.
Yes, so switchboard updates, we're still hiring. And the update I want to give to the team is that we made some changes to the role requirements that you can find in the kickoff issue, but also that I'll review it with you because most of you are part of, well, the interviewing team, right? So the big change is that we are only interviewing and we're going to be hiring intermediate product designer. So when assessing, right, when interviewing the candidates and also filling in the scorecard, please keep in mind that we are moving them to the pipeline into the interview process, considering them intermediate designers. And also made some updates and switched the priority of some of the skills, both the soft skills and hard skills for this role. So as you can see here, top 3 to 5, top 3 and 5, 3 to 5. Anyways, top 5 mandatory skills is foundational research. I think for Switchboard, there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done. And a product designer with experience in research is really important. They need to be very strong collaborators with, PM, engineering, other designers. I'm mainly looking for someone that has worked with a design team before, or at least, had some pair designers. I've interviewed designers that they were like design team of one. They were the only and first designer in, a startup, etc. I think that especially for if you think of where Switchboard is right now, where we are getting started with a lot of the core functionality, a core of the user experience, someone that has, a bit more of experience in collaborating with other designers to get the understanding, the insights of how to use a design system that they are used to, just figuring things out with the team. I think that's essential. If they are not already technical, they are interested in HTML and CSS. So I'm not sure if in your scorecards, your interviews, you talk about that, about those skills, but I would like them to at least be, proficient in basic HTML and CSS. That means that they're going to have a better understanding of design interactions, that they will be able to communicate with the front-end engineers, right, about the components, that when reviewing merge requests, they will just be able to jump in and do the work that needs to be done. And I already mentioned reusability, interactions as related to design system, and experience working on complex products. Before, I was really looking for someone that had the DevTools experience. That's always tricky, right? Because GitLab is such a specific work that you all do here. So complex products that can be like working banking, and compliance, in anything that really requires them to dig into this messy, hairy problems and show that they can apply design iteration to, propose a solution that they can use research skills, that they can collaborate with their teams, anyways, involve engineering in their design process. So in a nutshell, that's what I'm looking for. And the nice to have skills, technical skills in general, right? That could be like anything outside the scope of HTML and CSS. As I mentioned, really nice if they have DevTooling experience. Maybe they're a user of GitLab. Maybe they, I don't know, they're coming from one of our competitors. And also onboarding platform workflows or admin platforms experience. That's also nice to have. I think before, one of my mandatory skills was that they had experience in onboarding design, right? But very tricky to find and combine all of that. I think it's we made some tweaks there to make sure that we are not finding the right candidate on paper, but that we find the right person for this job, and that for the things that they need to improve, the skills they need to improve, that we create the opportunities for them to gain those skills. What changes, I think, to you mainly is only intermediate. So if you think someone is at the intermediate level, but they're like I don't know, early intermediate, or I don't know, a very strong intermediate, I would like you to highlight that in your notes. And also when I say intermediate, it's like a GitLab intermediate, right? Because a lot of the candidates that we interviewed recently, especially end of last year, which was like 2 weeks ago, they had a title senior, but they were like not GitLab seniors, right? So it's difficult to, not difficult, but we have to kind of set that expectation with the candidates. So I'll pause now, see if you have any questions and if any of this made sense. So yeah, like we can align the expectations for the upcoming interviews.
I just have one question. I really haven't been getting any interviews for this role. So I wasn't sure if that was something was missing there, or I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that has been the challenge, and that's also why we are making these changes to the requirements. I've interviewed only I don't know, maybe 6, 8 candidates in the last 4 months. That's not a lot, right? Because initially the candidates that were being screened, that were qualified, they were and then that's going to answer to Will's question, too expensive, or they were too senior, right? They were good designers, but switchboard is an area that if we put someone that is too senior, they're going to finish the work like in a year, and then what? We cannot risk like getting someone putting someone there so that to be bored, right? It's a problem area where the designer, they need to have room for growth, right? They need to be able to learn also on the fly. For example, have experience in research but have never worked with a research team, so they're going to collaborate with Will, right? You're going to learn something. So yes, for this role, we haven't had so many interviews. We had candidates that were screened, that were qualified, and they moved to the team interviews. I think Vitika, maybe Sanjung interviewed a few of them, but then rejected after a couple of interviews. Long answer to a very short question, but that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you kind of answered my first question. So I did add another question. Like since Hannah, you've done, you mentioned 6 to 8 different interviews with some like more senior candidates. Are there any concerns that like intermediate candidates will still be able to match up well with what you're looking for those top 3 to 5 mandatory skills?
Yeah, I think so. And that's after the assessment we've made after having these interviews, right? And after also looking at the bulk of applications that we had, right? I'm not sure if I remember at some point I mentioned like I'm reviewing 1,000 applications because a lot of people were applying And as I mentioned, they are seniors, but they're like not GitLab senior, right? You don't have the experience working complex products that we need, or understanding research methodology, etc., etc. I do think we'll find an intermediate candidate at this level, because if I remember correctly, like Gina, both Gina, Emily, and Sunjung, right? The three of you joined as at the intermediate level, right? But you all came with a very strong baggage, very strong experience in very specific things, right? And another thing we have to look at is that this team, you're all seniors, right? So looking at the business, when we hire yet another senior in this team, right, there's only going to be so many staff and manager opportunities in the company. So we also need to think about that, right? The career path and development and room for growth for a new person in the team. So that's related to the point I mentioned about, compensation expectations for people that are too senior, depending on the location factors, but also budgeting and career progression in this role. That answered your question, Will?
Yeah, thanks for going through that for me.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions you might have?
Question. Yeah. Sorry, this is a little bit out of scope, and if it's something that we can't talk about on the recording, also I'm fine with that. But as you mentioned, that there's a lot of seniors on our team, and that there's, not the growth opportunities are only going to be there if there's like a certain amount of openings and etc. Is there any work going on to maybe change up our I don't know what the word is, but basically like the growth opportunities for product designers? Because right now, like you're saying, you're senior and then you're either staff or manager. Is there going to be like other opportunities in between that?
Yes, I think we have, I'm not sure if the merge request was merged, I don't think so, but I know that Valerie and Pedro, they were working on the principal product designer, which is staff plus, right? Similar to what engineering and also product has. That's something that Christy was also working on, because we need to make sure it's right that, let's say after you get promoted for example, to senior product design manager, you could become a director, but then what's in between? Right? It's a limbo that that we need, in a way, just to clarify. And I know that this is part of the discussions that leadership had, at least, last year. I'm not sure yet when this will become let's say, something that is in the handbook, right, of a job. Because we also need to have the business need for that, right? So we didn't have staff designers in the past, right? We also didn't have senior design managers. So as we grow, we also have to make sure that we are not only adding people that are too senior, because that also means we might lose them, right, at some point. So that's all part of the changes for this particular role, and also mainly because I think switchboard, the scope is complex, but it's not as large as, for example, Verify, right? Where, you have a very well-established set of functionality that will require expertise, that requires more senior designers. So yes, answer your question, but I don't know when.
Okay, thank you.
Julio. Thanks for your questions, by the way. And I know that we are almost at time, so I'm just going to drop my question here. I discussed this with some of you already, but I want to see if you all can help me. I have this is unrelated to Switchboard, by the way, but I have to complete a UX scorecard as part of a Q4 OKR that will require me to validate a job to be done, right? Run a scorecard on a job to be done for a product area outside of CI/CD, outside of Switchboard. I can pick anything, but I want to pick something that relates to, well, verify and release, right? Sorry, verify and environments. I never remember that that changed. And my question to you is, do you have any suggestions, any recommendations on cross-stage job to be done that makes sense to be used for a scorecard that can help us, experiment or at least assess that user experience, thinking that the recommendations will be beneficial to your product areas. That makes sense. It's late, but what do you think?
I have the same suggestion here that I shared with you in our one-on-one. You helped me like come up with this. I discussed with the designer with the other team of the other team, which is code review, and that's how like I formed this for testing the usability of merging experience, which is a very wide experience. And I can totally give you the highlights, the tags from Dovetail that validate this. I would just need some time, maybe tomorrow.
Thanks, B. Appreciate it. I was thinking, I'm not sure, yeah, I didn't discuss this with you, Sunjin. We didn't have time today, but I was thinking of running a job to be done, running a scorecard also for one of the jobs to be done in Create, but related to the pipeline, like the editor experience, right? Either the code suggestions or using, I don't know, VS Code, whatever, using extensions, because I think that could be interesting to you, but they don't have jobs to be done for that, for the category. So yeah, that's the type of thing I'm looking for.
Something insecure could be cool. I think that could overlap with verify. Just thinking about like security widget vulnerabilities that all connects back to like commits and pipelines.
Yeah, that also makes sense because I think one of the is that you, Will, or is it Erica? It's Erica that is working on a study for, I think, CI. I think it's CI adoption, and something that about that relates to security and compliance workflows.
Yeah, it's definitely Erica.
It's Erica, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I forgot that we still have Will's part of the agenda, so I'll just pause for now. Unless, Will, you want to, voice your comment here.
Yeah, I saw that you added the link to the jobs to be done YAML file, so I was just kind of like scrolling through it. And I came across this one. It looks like it hasn't been validated, but it touches, it's technically under distribution. So that's involved with like actually installing GitLab. And then it touches on Kubernetes, which is covered by the environments team. So it looks like there's a couple different like stages involved. So I don't know, that might be another area to consider, but unlike the one that Vithika had shared, I don't know if this is like it's got the evidence behind it as much as hers does.
Yeah, thanks, Will. I linked here the job to be on the file. Yeah, I'll do some digging. I think there must be some additional information in the direction pages for these categories, this area. But appreciate the feedback. And then over to you, Will.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of updates. I did want to just add to what Emily said earlier about her solution validation study, that I think she did a great job collaborating with Victor and myself on this work, and she was extremely efficient getting everything done, especially around the holidays. And she also did a great job like running the study in user testing and then providing us with updates on like each participant, asking me for feedback on like whether she needed to like, you know, reject certain participants and kind of get new ones in, get higher quality feedback. And then she also consolidated all of those individual sessions into like an overall summary, which was really detailed and awesome to see. But that's kind of it for me.
Thank you, Will. And Emily. Thanks, Will, for the shout out. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. Yeah, it never works. I mean, we want the
Never when we wanted to work.
never when we want to. It's gonna be live forever on the internet. So, my goodness. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining and for staying a little bit over time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.